Hey friends, and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Kaitlin and I am so glad that you're here. Today I'm going to be giving you guys 5 of my favorite spring romance recommendations. So I don't know where all of you are at, but I am in Oklahoma and spring has finally sprung. The temperatures are higher, the flowers are blooming, and love is in the air. So I thought it was appropriate to give you guys 5 of my favorite spring romance recommendations today. These books are hopefully going to be something a little bit different than what you might be seeing right now on BookTube or on Bookstagram, because they are backlisted titles, but these are some of my all-time favorites, and for one reason or another, they all make me think of spring. So I am really excited to share these with you today. So the first book that I want to recommend you guys is Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating by Christina Lauren. This is a friends to lovers romance, so if that is one of your favorite tropes, I highly recommend this one. But this follows Josh and Hazel as they navigate the murky waters of dating and figuring out their own friendship. Hazel is determined that she is not dateable, and Josh is actually just coming off of a really bad breakup. And so they decide to start setting each other up on blind double dates. So Josh chooses a date for Hazel, Hazel chooses a date for Josh, and then they double date, and chaos ensues. This was really, really funny. Definitely a good rom-com if that's your speed. And I loved the chemistry between them in both their friendship and their romance. Sometimes I feel like it can be a miss if one of those is off. So if the friendship feels forced, then I'm not gonna believe the romance. And sometimes the romance can feel forced for me in friends to lovers. So I actually don't typically pick up friends to lovers, but this is a total hit. The second recommendation I have for you guys is A Lady's Guide to Mischief and Mayhem by Amanda Collins. This is a Regency setting, and it follows Catherine, who is a journalist, and she ends up being a witness to another murder, and in comes Inspector Andrew. And they don't really care for each other at first, so it is an enemies to lovers romance. Catherine thinks that he's super arrogant, and Inspector Andrew thinks that she's just a busybody who's gonna get in the way of his investigation, who's gonna try to do anything she can to break the news. And they end up, after much banter and back and forth, they do end up solving a mystery together and also falling in love along the way. If you are a mystery fan and a romance fan, then I highly recommend this one because it is the perfect marriage of those two. I've heard a lot of people say that if you enjoyed Enola Holmes, I think is how you say it, on Netflix, that you would really enjoy this book. They do have very similar vibes from what I know. I haven't watched that movie, but from what I can tell, they do have very similar vibes. So if that is kind of your speed, if that sounds intriguing to you, then I would definitely recommend picking it up. And my next recommendation is going to be Love and Gelato by Jenna Evans Welch. This book is a YA romance, and it follows Lena, who has been estranged from her father for her entire life, until one day, as her mother's dying wish, she is told that she wants her to go to Tuscany and spend the summer with her father, getting to know him. And so she reluctantly agrees. And when she gets to Tuscany, she ends up finding a journal that her mother kept while she was living over there. And the journal is full of all of these different memories that Lena then goes on an adventure to try to recreate, to feel close to her mother again. And of course, she has to have a tour guide because she knows nothing about Tuscany. And so there is a boy who lives down the road that ends up taking her to all the different places that are in her mother's journal. And they kind of create these memories together. One thing I really, really enjoy about this book is while it is YA, and I don't typically gravitate towards YA romances, but this one hits really differently. There is a trigger warning for a loss of a parent because her mother does pass away at the very beginning of the story. That's not a spoiler. But this book does speak a lot about the grief of losing a parent, which I found incredibly beautiful. So if you have lost a parent, I would say just know that going in, if that's not something that you want to read about. But if it is something that you are maybe struggling with that grief and you just don't want to feel alone in those feelings, the words that Jenna Welsh puts to that particular type of grief, losing a parent, is amazing, and it definitely makes you feel not quite so alone. So I highly recommend it from that perspective, but also it's just a super fun romance. The friendship that forms between Lena and Ren, the boy who shows her around Tuscany, is really fun to watch blossom. And then also the imagery in this book is so beautiful. If Italy is somewhere that you've been and loved, or if it's just somewhere that is on your bucket list and you think it's beautiful, I cannot recommend picking this up enough just for the imagery alone. It is incredible, very well written. So this was definitely a 5-star for me. So the next book that I want to recommend you guys is The Match by Sarah Adams. This book was by far one of the cutest books that I read last year. It was so adorable. This book follows Evie, who actually works for Southern Service Paws, I think is the name of the company, and she actually matches dogs with children who have special needs. So it could be a range of different things, from anxiety to epilepsy, and these dogs end up being service dogs, and she matches them and she spends time with the dog in the match to make sure that it is the right match and that the dog is going to be helpful to the child. She ends up matching a dog to a little girl who actually has the exact same condition that she has. And the little girl's dad is a single dad, and he is extremely protective of his daughter. And he's not really sold on the idea of the service dog at the beginning. So she ends up spending a lot of time with this little girl and her dad, Jacob, and forming a friendship with Jacob and trying to help him understand where his daughter's feelings are coming from about wanting some independence, and, you know, getting him to loosen the reins just a little bit to empower his daughter to, you know, live the most full life that she can without being so overprotective of her. And the relationship that forms between these two is so beautiful. I also will note that this is a clean romance. I do know that that's important to a lot of people, so I will put that here, that I know romance can kind of be like, you don't always know what you're walking into. So if you are someone who's looking for strictly clean romances, this is a really well done one. It is not cheesy at all, and Sarah does a really great job of building that romantic tension between them without having to use any, you know, physical pursuits. So if that is something that you're looking for, then this is an awesome, awesome, awesome recommendation. Okay, so the last recommendation that I have for you guys is To Sir Phillip with Love by Julia Quinn. This is the 5th book in the Bridgerton series, and it is Eloise's story, who I just adore. I love her. She's one of my favorites from the series. But I won't give you too many spoilers, just in case you're somebody who may not ever pick up the books, but you want to be surprised by the series, assuming that it sticks close to the books as it continues to go on. So I will not give any spoilers, but I will say that this book has some of the funniest scenes in the entire series for me with the siblings. There's quite a few scenes with all of her brothers that is really, really entertaining. I laughed out loud so hard reading it. It also is a single parent romance, so I know that's a trope that a lot of people enjoy reading about. So this is a single parent romance. And overall, it's just a super fun read, especially off the tails of the series ending. So all the books can actually be read individually. The books actually don't intertwine all the stories like the show does. So don't feel weird about picking this one up on its own if you're not necessarily going to go back and read all of them or want to read all of them. You can just pick this one up and you won't miss a beat. But it was so much fun, and the character growth is really great in this one as well. So if sassy women and funny brothers is your scene, then I highly recommend picking this one up. All right, well, that is all of the spring romance recommendations that I have for you guys today. I hope that one of these was maybe not on your radar before and is now, or maybe you were thinking about picking it up, and hearing someone who has read it gush about it maybe has encouraged you to pick it up sooner. But either way, just thank you for being here today. Thank you for spending some of your day with me. Do not forget to choose coziness over chaos, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.